Well, good morning, all you beautiful love streamers out there on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. We are so delighted that you have decided to take time to join us this morning. We want to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. I am your host, Horace. If this is your first time, we want you to know that with modern technology, we are extremely grateful for this opportunity to touch so many lives, which includes you. And we want you to know that we're delighted to share these wonderful happenings that are occurring at the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. So please feel free to visit our website, cslcharlotte.org. Put in a prayer request, please, and subscribe. We add our recordings to our website each and every week. So let me tell you about us. Who are these people here at the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte? Well, let me tell you, we are a new thought community living in ancient wisdom philosophy based on the science of mind. The science of mind philosophy was developed in the early 20th century by writer and lecturer Ernest Holmes. Dr. Holmes was a man on a mission. He studied truths from all of the world's religious traditions and spiritual paths. He developed a fresh new way for all of us to look at ourselves and how we fit into our world. He's been referred to as the great synthesizer. So at CSO Charlotte, we want you to know that every philosophy is honored along with every race, sexual orientation, and physical distinction. We want you to know that we are a diverse, open, and affirmative community. There are many paths to the divine, and you may decide to call it God, peace, love, spirit, infinite mind, or the I am presence. It really doesn't matter what you call it, but I'm going to tell you what does really matter. What really matters is that you call it what is that you know as your power that resonates within you. And we want you to know that you do not have to leave your philosophy or nature of knowledge. You can join us at any time. We recognize and refer to many of the Holy Scriptures, such as the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita, and that is just to name only a few. So let me tell you about our vision statement here at the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. We want you to know that our vision is to continue a spiritual community, creating and preparing a succession of future leaders who can fully integrate, teach, and expose the science of mind principles, messages, and practices that strengthen the mind, body, and spirit of each and every individual. One of our aims is to create a high collective consciousness for everyone in this community. We teach everyone the tools to do just that. So come and join us as we meet each Tuesday evening at our consciousness meeting. You're going to hear more about that when we talk about opportunities. And that's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each and every Tuesday. So welcome everyone and enjoy the service as we celebrate this powerful being which lives within each and every one of us. So now, before I pass the mic over to our illustrious spiritual leader, Reverend Rosedale, I want you to know, first of all, the power in her message today. The theme is in pursuit of spiritual freedom. The theme this morning is in pursuit of spiritual freedom. And on that note, I want to leave you with this quote. Understand this, if nothing else. Spiritual freedom and oneness with the Tao are not randomly bestowed gifts, but the rewards of conscious self-transformation and self-evolution. Let me say that one more time. Understand this, if nothing else. Spiritual freedom and oneness with the Tao are not randomly bestowed gifts, but the rewards of conscious self-transformation and self-evolution. And that's from Lao Tzu. And with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to our illustrious fearless leader, Reverend Rosedale.
Whoa, Horace. I told you don't read it to me before. You always get me on that one. That's powerful. He got my favorite man, Lao Tzu. Well, who else can you not have? Well, anyway, Horace, thank you for being our MC today. But anyway, welcome everybody, especially out there in YouTube land that's going to be watching this later on this week. And it's still today for you. So welcome to our virtual community because this is the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. It is the Mind, Body, Spirit Center. So with that being said, the first thing we do is we open our spiritual community with a celebration of an affirmative prayer. So this person that's about to turn us on with this affirmative prayer is the one who set this platform up this morning as we got started in his prayer. So with that, today with us being looking at the in pursuit of spiritual freedom, first, let Alan, my right-hand man, go ahead and do his affirmative prayer for us.
In this present moment, I recognize that there is this infinite power, this infinite source that is the source of all of the universe, the source of all the galaxies, the stars, all the nature, all the wonderful animals. And the same infinite presence resides within each and every one of us because we are all sacred avenues of expression for this divine intelligence. And I know that as we find our pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of spiritual freedom, and we find our own joy, and we are a light and a beacon of hope for other people. So I know that we use our lives to transform ourselves, to return back to that infinite light that is our source. And we show other people how to do that. And we are all leaders, just like Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and so many other people. And I know that we are all here as one community, serving each other and helping each other to grow. And I'm grateful to be part of a community like this. We're all here to help each other to transform and to grow and to become that source of light for everybody else in our lives. So I release these words out into the universe, knowing everything is transforming and working out in divine and perfect order. And so it is.
And everything is working out in divine order. Thanks to you, Alan. Every one of my cells were pinging from left to right, up and down. What's up is down. What's across is over there. So thank you, Alan, for that prayer. So, at one time, America had this possibility of freedom, but it didn't exist for everybody. We all know that. But we also know that as we get ready to do the person that's going to do the reading, all we have to do is choose it. And we have our own freedom and we can connect with it, and we connect by connecting with each other. So with that being said, I got to tell you about our reader. So the next person that's coming up is our reader, and she's going to Jerry Campbell, aka Groovy G, is what I like to call her, and it's the name that sticks with me. But she knows all about being in pursuit of spiritual freedom because she called me the other day to let me get a noun about what she had going on. And I love it because it seems like we just click when we talk and we start going into our little spiritual freedom chit chat. But because she's doing the reading also, that's why I know she knows. But anyway, besides that, she is totally committed to her service here at CSL Charlotte. So listen to Groovy's reading, and then after that, you will identify with spiritual freedom, and that is my promise. And after Groovy's finished with her reading, listen to the song, One Power, because that way you're going to learn that there is one power. You will understand the need to be in pursuit of spiritual freedom because there's only one. And we're going to be a part of that today. So Groovy, make it do what it do.
Good morning, everyone. It is my honor to read Celebration Time for Freedom, written by our very own Reverend Rosedale Jones. Numerous cultures celebrate freedom, and with good reason. Many of us celebrate because it marks a moment to liberate ourselves from feelings of hardship, manipulation, and bondage. For Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it is atonement, empowerment, fairness, justice, and equality. But why limit ourselves to just the day he came to be? We acknowledge his legacy because freedom was his purpose and his dream was equality for all of us. It's time for our own personal freedom, where we claim freedom and liberty from the limitations and obstacles, whether within us or beyond us. This can be achieved through a daily practice of self-awareness and spiritual connection. It is through our inner work that we align ourselves with the infinite field of potential. We can truly feel our own personal freedom once we build a habit to practice every single day. Therefore, there is no need to limit ourselves to just one day of freedom, fairness, justice, and equality. In practice, each breath and each moment is a chance to claim our freedom. It is a chance to live authentically, to pursue our passions courageously, and to contribute our unique gifts to the world. That's when we find ourselves living in the field of limitless potential. Never lose sight of the limitless potential that resides within you, because that's the way your personal freedom. Take time every day to celebrate your personal freedom with every step you take on this remarkable journey of self-awareness and empowerment. Go ahead, release your feelings of hardship and embrace the freedom that comes with recognizing your true essence. To recognize our limitless potential, we need to have spiritual practice in place every day to put ourselves into the field where the limitless potential resides, which is within us. Live every day in the spirit of freedom. The following is a quote from our Reverend Rosedale Jones. The spirit of freedom is a perpetual reminder to break free from the shackles that we used to bind ourselves in the past. And so it is.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to start with a 2-minute centering just to get our minds in the game. And you know that the breath is the vitality of all of us. So just breathing really deeply with this, knowing about this one power and how it lasts in a breath. And then you exhale real slow. And recognize that this one power that Daniel Nahmod is singing about is just a beautiful reminder of the freedom and the liberation that it comes from it, from recognizing the unity of all life. We are all together. We are all one, although people are taught to be opposite of each other, but we're not. See, this song captures the very essence of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it acknowledges that beneath our differences, there is one universal power. And that power is love, it's justice, it's peace. You can call it all those names. And Horace even said the same when he opened us up. It connects us to the one universal power. And that power is within us, and it is here as we are uplifted with it. So the power created a world already, so we don't have to do any creations. It created a world for spiritual freedom, harmony, and equality. But it's our job to choose freedom instead of bondage and fear. Fear, F-E-R-A-R. See, my spirit recognizes that the world was created by different eras, not different people. People didn't create the world. The eras did. Centuries down and then now up have created different worlds. Eras, time, not physical time. See, those sights that we're talking about from this power, it literally aligns us with our inner power and then with the one power. Now, for me, my new era has been created with spiritual freedom and harmony. And I'm so grateful that I have that and I claim it. As much as I claim it, I'm going to receive it. So it's up to us to claim the greatest possibilities of ourselves as we move on in pursuit of spiritual freedom. Now, you're a choice whether you choose to use spiritual practices to actually find out where you are in that on that spectrum of in pursuit of being in pursuit of spiritual freedom. So as you wiggle your fingers and your toes, really take another deep breath in and come back into the center, but actually look around your space first and actually find something in that area to connect you back to the present moment. While I take this thing called a gratitude moment. Because Horace, you rock that MC today, always, you always do. And, Groovy, that reading, whoa, let me just tell you, but Alan, that prayer. So come on, you just all set me up for this. So you might as well get ready. And that reading, Groovy, that you read that I wrote, that was called Celebration Time for Freedom, really, truly points the way to in pursuit of spiritual freedom. So I thought about weaving a little bit of the finer points of Dr. Martin Luther King last week when I talked about forgiveness as a pathway to healing. But you know what? We are great at healing because we know that our body heals itself. So then I started to realize that, no, let's give forgiveness and healing their day last week because it's crazy to think that I'm going to take his legacy with such little significance. So I decided that I'm going to give him his full day. This is his celebration and his day. So I'm going to make him the topic and his wonderful life that he led because that's the day he came to be. You heard what Groovy said in the reading. That's my favorite line. That's the day the man or we come to be. So I just felt it was only right for us to actually dedicate the entire talk for him because it's his birthday and he had a very enduring dream for freedom, for justice, and it was for everybody. See, Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy reminds me that being in pursuit of spiritual freedom is both personal and it's collective, right? So because it's all of that, then actually true freedom is not just, it's not political or social. Everybody's making it out of something that it really isn't. You know what it is? It's spiritual, it's emotional. And you know what else? Emotions are part of the process. I like to say that. And see, all of this, spiritual, emotional, and all that stuff has to be reinforced in our relationships with other people. We have to learn relationship 101. We don't have relationships yet until we actually get the spiritual freedom that we need first so that we're free to be able to deal with who we need to deal with in all kinds of ways because relations with other people really, you know what it does? It encourages the testing of our beliefs. It encourages the ability for us to see the differences between right or wrong, the differences between you and me. It's our freedom. So today I'm sharing how being in pursuit of freedom, how being in pursuit of spiritual freedom inspires us to actually embrace spiritual practices. Now, there are so many ways to liberate ourselves in this thing called, and I say it to everyone, I don't say anything different because this is all I know and this is all I believe, and you're not going to change my mind. What happens is we liberate ourselves in the mind, body, spirit connection. We need these three connected all the time in order to be whole in our spiritual practices, in our lives with each other, and by the way, in our own life with ourselves. Because the best relationship you can have is the one with you. That's your freedom. Now, when it comes to that alignment with our highest values, it empowers us to learn how to live authentically. Uh, Real freedom comes from freeing our minds from limiting beliefs, all these judgments that we have. We got judgments. Don't act, oh, I don't judge. Oh, stop. And our fears. We got a lot of those. But you know what? All we have to do is continue our spiritual practices. We gain spiritual freedom. After gaining that spiritual freedom, now we can trust that the process is ours. And you know who trusted and believed and who had all that? Dr. King. He once said this one important thing, and this is what we do here is educate people. He said the function of education is to teach people to think diligently and seriously. Those are his words. I didn't want to chop them up. And that's what he said. He said, diligently and seriously. You got to think because he's saying that intelligence plus character is the goal of true education. Does that make sense? So it's like a combination of intelligence and characteristics of us individually. Then that all aligns us with the inner work that we do, but that inner work is required. Oh, we got to do that. If we want spiritual freedom, we got to do the inner work. And the inner work is not for the, what would they say? Not for the fainted heart. I love people when they say that. Oh, it is true. This is not for the fainted heart. See, education in its best or truest form it's not just accumulating knowledge, because knowledge without works is a dead thing. Okay, I like that. I can't think of that quote, but they say knowledge without work is dead, right? Now, it's also about cultivating. That's what it really is. Education cultivates our wisdom, and our integrity, right? When you realize and you educate yourself to realize that that's not a good thing to do. The only way you're going to get educated sometimes is when you make a mistake and then you get people they disown you or whatever happens, but something caused you to realize that I got to change that and I have to come back with better integrity. So wisdom, integrity, and guess what else? It gave you insight. Now, once you get that insight, now here we go. Now, here goes where we get the essence of our character. So that's what I loved about him. He was so wise with that, but it's true. Education plus character builds you, me, us, individually and collectively. Remember, I said it's personal and it's collective. So, spiritual practices we do in Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte, it's really about mindfulness, it's about contemplation, it's about prayer, really all of that. Yes. And then you know what it does? It helps us heal all those inner barriers that we have in here, because everything that we feel that hurts, that's not good, they're barriers, but we got to deal with them and come out smelling like a rose. Because what happens, like you heard in my reading, in Groovy's reading, the shackles, click, click. Now, nobody built those shackles but us. Got to get to that spiritual freedom to come to set that liberation away from those shackles that we bind ourselves with. You heard the quote too. So by doing that, we just expand our self-awareness and we grow spiritual maturity and we grow in authenticity. People who are not spiritually free are not very authentic. They don't tell the truth about their real feelings. You ask them, should I wear these shoes? And they say whatever you want to hear. I said that last week, but I'm serious about that. When you're a person that's in pursuit of spiritual freedom, you're authentic. And you're not going to hurt that person's feelings because authenticity is not here to hurt, to hate, to put people down, or to be condescending. It is about being real in your relations with other people. Spiritual freedom has to be done. So Dr. King's struggle for civil rights. Now I'm going to show you the parallelism between Dr. King's days, because again, remember I said everything is built in era. So in the era of King, and I want to say Malcolm X, because the two of them to me was like bookends. Okay, so we're talking about King today, but I'm just saying they were like bookends in my mind. So with the two of these men, I saw that equality was a struggle for them, and we had to, it deeply entwines everything that the two of them stood for, deeply entwines with our spiritual beliefs here at CSL Charlotte. And our principles are still the same. We're just speaking from a different era. Got it? So here are some ways that King inspires similar thinking to us at CSL Charlotte. See, his principle for nonviolence and all of those things like that, it really teaches the importance to peace and compassion, and it also helps us with our own personal understanding of our own spiritual journey. So what happened was, he also spoke about unconditional love. Now, unconditional love is not today, I love you and you're cool because you did that. Today is, oh, you did that, that hurt, but I still love you. Now, if you can't do that, you're not spiritually free. And you can't keep saying, oh, it's so hard to do that, because then you're not spiritually free, nor are you authentic. Because you know, if you want to change, it has to be done through spiritual freedom. And your spiritual practices, like Groovy read, daily. Oh, I love the way she kept coming back because she wanted us to hear what was the truth of all of that. I was just bing, bing, bing. She was getting me in that reading all the way. So I didn't even believe I wrote it. I just like, oh, this thing sounds new. But you know, the civil rights movement, what it did in that era, is it really actually emphasized the inborn, the innate, the inner worth of us, the dignity of every one of us. Every individual has this. So act like you know that. And so the movement that King and Malcolm X had for us were just teachings, and they advocated us for respect, self-respect, for equality, for diversity. You heard Horace, this community is a diverse community, and we are among all people. So I'm so grateful. Oh my God, am I grateful. I mean, when I left the police force in the 90s, some 30 years ago, I'm so glad that I started that spiritual journey. Because before I started the journey, I used to think that no matter what I did, nothing was working. No, and then back then, I had this paradigm or this pattern that was working on worrying. It was being self-critical. Sometimes I'm still self-critical. Oh, sometimes angry, but I'm no longer angry, honey. You know that you can take that to the bank. Right? And suspicious. Oh, that's got to go too. That went too. All of that went over the years as I continued my practice. I allowed them to go. So in doing that, the first couple of months of my spiritual practices, oh my God, let me just tell you, I did not want to start this process. I remember asking myself, why am I doing this? Because it was tedious. It was, oh yeah, but I was so worth it. You hear that? I was worth it. My peace was worth it. My freedom was worth it. The problem I had was I had so many structures of power that I was getting all torn up, and it was the patterns that broke my power. But now it was actually my ego that started wondering, why am I wanting to change? Everything should be fine. Leave it alone. Everything. I don't know why you want to change. That's my ego, because you know why? I didn't feel like doing the work. See? And see, what I found that my ego's way of thinking, what it did to me was it made it hard for me to stay committed to my spiritual practices. But finally, I began to feel like, man, oh man, I'm in the flow of this thing, because I had begun spending more and more time in my spiritual practices. See, I needed the freedom from those old patterns that I had. So, in pursuit of spiritual freedom, my ego began to take a back seat to my higher consciousness because I'm practicing, right? That's all I want to do. I don't have time to talk about these things and the politics and all that. That doesn't do nothing for me. That does nothing for me. But in pursuit of spiritual freedom, my old pattern of being critical, of being worried, and all those things, suspicious and angry, whatever I said, was put to rest. Now I live in spiritual freedom. I don't care about talking about how I'm so spiritual and how the world works like that. And I feel good about it because you know what? I've seen it happen so much till my faith is higher than anybody's criticism about how I think, and they can't judge me. So with that being said, from now that's all coming from the ego, all that craziness. But see, now from my higher consciousness, I begin to think thoughts like back in the day, well, it's time for me to shift gears here because this is not working. No, it wasn't working. If I'm not happy the way I am today, man, if I hadn't started, I would not be here. I would not be seeing so many people that are changing their lives right before my very eyes. In other words, that's when I started to realize that it's time to create a new paradigm shift. And I'm so happy I did that back then. I'm so glad. It was tough, but it was worth it. And another comparison to Dr. King was this: the civil rights movement had the strength. And you know what the strength of that civil rights movement? I'm going to compare it to CSL Charlotte. It was the solidarity. I loved that word when I was a teenager because I started learning this stuff in the streets of Harlem. And so it was the solidarity and the collective action of his community back then. That's what he needed to do in that era, remember? But this era, I founded Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte, and it's making a name on the map. So likewise, at CSL Charlotte, a supportive spiritual community like what we have here helps us to grow. It helps us to overcome our own personal challenges. You heard Horace, every Tuesday we get together at 6 p.m. We're going to have some sharing, and then we're going to have a practice. And we get a chance to do that. And what the goodness of about this spiritual freedom for us is it's a very safe and very supportive environment. So we encourage each other to actually reflect and work towards a shared vision as we get together and we practice. So the purpose of a vision for us or a dream for King was to gain the consciousness possibility. We need a consciousness of possibility in order to really actually work on our spiritual freedom. So the vision, I'm getting tongue-tied with all my words, but it's okay. I know I'm there. So the vision or the dream that we have is how we're going to perceive ourselves as we move and we grow in the pursuit of spiritual freedom. Okay, so now for Groovy's reading, I remember, I wrote this that she said that really spoke volumes again to me just a few minutes ago. And when she said this, it's like, wake up, stay woke. It's time for us to embrace our own spiritual freedom. I mean, really embrace it. Don't just say, yeah, I know, I heard I got spiritual freedom. No, no, no. Start claiming it. Claiming this liberation, and then also get away from the limitations that you keep talking about, because the only person that's given the limitations to you is you. 24/7, the mind is at work. Mind, body, and spirit. And when you work in the mind, it tells the body which way to walk or what to do, and then after that, it comes out the way it is. Now, you don't want to have that spirit in that body doing something altogether different and you're doing something different, because now it's incongruent, right? So let's remember that. So we want to make sure, Okay, I can't speak for everybody, but I want to achieve consistent practice all the time, as much as I can. When I'm stuck on something and I'm not really happy, my mind becomes clustered and I get all this debris and these little, I'm calling it trash, right? Doubt, fear, confusion, these little things that start coming up. But what I start doing is get back in my practice today, get back in. Well, I can't wait to get home because something just hit me. Okay, I got to get home. Da, da, da. Okay, right. But then when I get back in my silence, in my peace, better judgments come out of me and I feel better. But you got to want that. See, because see, what happens is a mind that's in that state cannot provide that fertile ground that we need to actually manifest all the things that we hope they will. We have to get that mind on fertile ground, and that means we need to be in pursuit of spiritual freedom. And as we gain this freedom, now the things manifest the way we expected them to. So why not just go ahead and navigate these things by using affirmations? So when we fall off track, and we will, I know you like to say, oh, I'm spiritual, so it never stops. Once in a while, a family member might tell me, if you shouldn't be upset if you're so spiritual. That is the most. Oh my God, what is that word you want to call? That's the most immature thing you could think. That somebody is 24/7 something. Remember, we are spiritual beings having human experiences. We are not somebody we're not a stone wall. We do have emotions. I tell you again, emotions are part of the process. So stay in pursuit of spiritual freedom and make sure that in these words of the higher consciousness, let the higher consciousness take the wheel instead of the ego. See, the ego sometimes be having my will. And I'm like, hold up. Move. Because I love my ego, because my ego will keep me safe. Oh, indeed. So don't think we got to kick it out. No, don't do that. Because sometimes you need to hear some of those warnings, even though some of them they don't make sense. But listen. And then once you listen to your ego and give it that respect, then it'll step back. But if you fight it and pretend that, it's all good, and do that fairy tale look in your eye like, oh my God, I'm looking through the eyes of rose-colored glasses. No, I'm saying I'm going to hear my ego out, but I am going to be working on letting that higher consciousness take the wheel. So remember, it's truly important for us to really practice. And remember this also. Like Ruby read this too, I'm sure. She said in every breath and in every moment, we get a chance to claim spiritual freedom. So when you're in there breathing and exhaling in your practice, you're in that moment to get into that spiritual practice. So remember, one more thing I want to tell you. There's a lot of things I've done over my years, but I remember back in my teen years that I began to study my history on my own. Oh yeah, something about my spirit got into me to say, what's really real? So once I really understood my history and who the leaders were when I was a teenager, I just want to tell you that because I know that I'm celebrating this powerful, awesome Martin Luther King's birthday, but I also, who comes up with me in my mind also is Malcolm X. Now he is born in May, right? But he was the 1950s leader in the Nation of Islam. So I just want to say all of them were my idols. So instead of my ego believing in all that gaslighting stuff that they taught us when we were children, I did my homework. We still have time to do our homework all the time. So, and then I noticed one thing about our ancestors and how they did things and how they spoke in their time. Listen to this. Their intention was only to embrace a deeper spiritual meaning, and they wanted us to have a meaning that continues to resonate and hold relevance for us today. However, the errors change. E-R-A, E-R-A, not error. The errors change. So we have to get and evolve. And that's what our ancestors did for us. So now I made the choice based on the things that I heard my grandmother say and all of them say to let the spirit lead me, and I'm going to be in pursuit of spiritual freedom forever. And I'm going to have days where it's not going to look so, right now it's cloudy, right? So it's not going to be looking so sunny every single day. But I do know this, that sun never went away. It's just hiding. So I want you to remember this feeling that we're having right now, and this next song that's going to bring on another set of feelings. If you have that reverence for any of this peace and civil rights and everything, the feeling takes me personally, it takes me back so eloquently when I listen to this next song. Because this next song, I used to always, every year, do Martin Luther King and do Black History Month. That was what I was raised on doing. So check this out. Martin Luther King, his anthem stuck with me this week. So I want you to hear this next song. Listen to his song, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Oh, oh. Music that honors Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy without naming man-like qualities that they tell us that this God in the sky is going to dole out gifts to us. That is so not what I can say that gives reverence. I'm getting relevant and reverence twisted today, but that's okay. Of the legacy of this man. It's on spiritual freedom, everybody. This year, this era, we're talking about spiritual, and we're talking about freedom and unity, and we're talking about this connection. And Groovy, thanks. I'm glad you like that song. She said she never heard it, but Groovy's always liking that music. But after reflecting on Lift Every Voice and Sing, I tie freedom back to the talk last week. Remember when I talked about forgiveness, acceptance, and acknowledgement? That's how we forgive. Well, that is the same way I tie freedom back. So for generations after generations, the song has echoed for us, for at least for me, okay, over the nation to me. And it would just bring on all of the love that I have within me for everyone, because that's what you have to do. You got to stay soaked in that stuff in order to really actually feel the weight of this beauty and this triumph and the struggle has that all of our ancestors went through. Boy, oh boy, you guys, man, bing, 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 you was hitting the ball, bing, this one caught it, bing, all across the court. Not that court, that's baseball, right? Well, you know I'm not a sports person. So anyway, we had the ball in the air and we kept it up. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. So now you know it's the time that I like to talk about birthdays. So we always talk about birthdays because that's the day we came to be. You have to honor that. All of our ancestors were here to get us here. Be grateful for that. There's the only thing you can do is be grateful, and that makes you happy. So today we are honoring the day Dr. Martin Luther King came to be. And so now that we've done that, you see that you've heard all about that. But now, what about you? All we want to do is constantly think about people who came to be on what day, and if we're in that day or that week or some of the parameters around your birthday, man, let us hold the highest watch for you for your birthday, because that's the day you came to be, and you must honor it. Our ancestors are dependent on us, because that's why they kept bringing us way down. So I don't know your birthday, you do, but you know what? You can put your month and your day, and you don't need to put your year. Some people are sensitive like that. I'm not. So just jot it down, and we will be happy to say welcome and say it, whether you're here or not. Because you know, one thing about spirituality, you do not need to be in my face to get prayer. Affirmative prayer is for everyone, and you will get it. It's about spirituality. It is not about some document or dogma. It is spirit. And if you want prayer, you do not have to be sitting in this room with me when I pray with you. Just know that. So you don't have to be sitting in this meeting when we talk about your birthday. You will just feel that some love is coming towards you. So with that, we're gonna give out big shout outs to our platform team today. And that MC dude there, Horace the Bush. I call him Horace the Bush, but Horace, he and I go back, oh man, almost 30, more than 30 years. Well, long time. That's what I do know. And he's our operations coordinator. And when I got back to Charlotte, he was the first person I called when I got back here. And he was, whatever you're doing, I'm there. That's all I can say. So Horace the Bush, and you also, that prayer, everything you did brought this whole system going on today. So thank you. And Alan, that prayer, you opened it, and you're about to close it. So you did it twice, and now you're about to do that third one. So you really rocked the house on that. So thank you so much, Alan. And Groovy, that reading, let me tell you something. You read that reading as though, I heard that reading as you read it, as though someone else wrote it. I understood. It's just like I was somebody outside of me. So you rocked that reading too. So, and then the music, and then the announcements was, now, Timmy P, he's always on point with his announcements. And if you did not see our talk, Timmy P is a person who you will know what this talk was about in one way or another, because I love how he brings back things that I thought, oh wow, I forgot about that, and he brings it back. So man, and then he also lets us know what we're all about, and he also reminds us what we're doing next week. So thank you, Timmy P, because you really did that thing. And then of course, Alan, he's still doing other things in the background with me, the right hand man here. That's why he don't get that name for nothing. He works. He's doing all kinds of stuff over there, but he got it. And the spotlighting is coming in through from no longer California. The spotlighting comes from Tennessee now. Melissa Spiegler, the person who I lived around for 12 years or so in California, and we just combed the whole area. But now we're both on the East Coast, and it's nothing wrong with moving around. It's just a good thing. So thank you, Melissa, for the spotlighting. And then Mo, she was my awesome and most fabulous, well, I want to call, what's that word? Registrar. So back in the day when I was going through getting my master's degree, Maureen Thurston, who is our emeritus spiritual practitioner that you hear Timmy P talking about, that you would get a prayer from. And I always say that if you have not received a prayer from CSL Charlotte, you have not put in a prayer request. And Mo is that person who would be there for me when I was probably didn't know what class I needed to take next and what I needed to do. She would hook up my schedule. I would be back, right ready to go back to class and everything. Mo was very good in that time. So she needed to be there for me to get me through that. So now she's no longer there, and it's too bad for them. So Mo, you want a prayer, go to her. So with that being said, before we close out, I thank my whole entire team, because this is not a one woman band, and it could never be that. And I thank you all, and I love you all so much for being so powerful. But remember this, we were all about today's journey was all about being in pursuit of spiritual freedom. So with that pursuit, it's time for us to celebrate the day that Dr. Martin Luther King came to be with the last song. Now, I want you to listen to this song, because everybody is probably unclear. No, not some people are unclear. This song was originated for him. So I can't think of any other song to end us off with but this. And you got to hear his words, because it's the real deal. So let's bring it up for the next song for Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. Yeah, that's That song means so much to me. Happy birthday when we sing it when to each other on the days that we all each came to be. So that's really, really cool. Yeah. Right, Alan? Because you're getting ready to come up here and close us out, aren't you? All right. So, guys, with that being said, you know what we all talked about, but it's really all about us personally. It's really about our spiritual freedom. Let's get into that today. We used a beautiful person to actually show, show up and be here for ourselves. Let's be up for ourselves forever. And Alan, go for it.
Wow. I know that in this powerful moment, in this powerful service, that there is this infinite intelligence, this infinite power that shows up as each and every one of us. It showed up as the light of Dr. Martin Luther King, as Malcolm X, as each and every one of us. We are all individualized expressions of this true light. And we are all moving forward day by day in our own transformations, experiencing authenticity, personal freedoms, and spiritual freedoms. And we are transformers of this world. So I am grateful to be part of this community where we each remind each other just who we are as the brilliance of this infinite light that is within each and every one of us. And we are here to get rid of the old stinking thinking, the old trash that's on the ground, and those outdated ideas is the manure that nourishes the soil to push that flower to grow up higher and higher and to bloom and to grow. And this is who we are as each and every one of us. We are individualized, colorful flowers in the garden. Mm-hmm. So I release this treatment out into the universe, knowing that everything is working out perfectly. And so it is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Everything is working out perfectly, always. And so, the next thing we're going to do, guys, I mean, I'm just so elated by that song. It really does that to me. Stevie Wonder went through a lot to actually get this day to be a national holiday. I don't know if people really recognize that, but I just get so excited when I hear that song. And I love the man, Stevie Wonder. So anyway, as we wrap our time together and let's just make sure we are moving forward this week, but literally in pursuit of spiritual freedom. See, this week, as we're going to continue exploring the idea of accepting the past, I invite us all to enjoy this time to reflect on what symbolizes unity, hope, and resilience and equality for you. What's the symbols for you? We're all different in that aspect, but we all want one thing, and that is love. So get in pursuit of spiritual freedom, and we also want freedom. And then we can accept our future and all the happiness and all the love that we can muster between us and other people. So remember this, the universe is constantly supporting us on our journey. So let's go through it and let's have a good time. So whenever we meet again, we will be finding the joy of living and working in pursuit of spiritual freedom. And so it is.